if you want to determine whether this is a linear equation, all you got to do is make sure that no variables are being multiplied together or that there's no power on a variable. Okay? So, are there any variables being multiplied together here? No. There's actually the number 5 being distributed, but there is no x times y. There is no x squared. There's no y squared. So it is a line for sure. Yes, it's a line. So option B, where it says no, that cannot be an answer. So you would scratch B out. So we know yes, it's a line for sure. So now what do we need to do? We need to rewrite it in standard form. So if we distribute 5 times 3, that's 15. 5 times negative x, that's negative 5x. And it equals 2y. Now standard form is ax plus by equals c. So you're going to have to subtract the 2y. Subtract 2y. Now you can't really subtract x's and y's, so you're just going to rewrite it. Let me rewrite it down here. 15 minus 5x. Take away 2y equals 0. But of course, you want the c value on the right side. Okay? So you're going to have to subtract 15 and subtract 15. And this would be your standard form equation. Negative 5x. Let me rewrite this thing. Let me do it over here on the side. Negative 5x minus 2y equals negative 15. Now remember I said some math teachers don't like the a value being negative? Anybody remember that? Yeah? So what I would have to do is change all of these signs by multiplying everything by negative 1. That'll make it a positive, and a positive. So here's our true standard form equation with the a value being 1, which is option D. Correct? All right. So how about number 2? Is that a linear equation? No, because it has x squared. Moving on to number 3. Solve the inequality. How do I solve this guy right here? Divide by 5. Divide by 5. You're going to have m is less than or equal to 4. B. Moving on. Solve the inequality there. The w is on the right side, so we're going to have to get rid of the minus 6 by going plus 6. Plus 6. We're going to have a new equation that says 2 plus 6, that's 8, is greater than or equal to w. And that's the answer. We just need to find it, which is C. I don't know why they didn't switch and put the w on the left. Anyways, let's move on to number 5. They want us to evaluate when x equals 12, y equals 6, and z equals 4. So all you do is plug it in and simplify. So the first thing I would do is zoom in. And then after that, I would replace the x, y, and z with parentheses. And then after that, I would actually plug in the x, y, and z values. X value is 12. Y value is 6. And the z value is 4. And so let's work this out now. Again, let's start by simplifying the top. It's going to be over 4. There's nothing to do on the bottom, so let's ignore the 4 for a little while, just focusing on the top. And on the top we have exponents, we have multiplication, we have subtraction and multiplication. So we will begin with exponents, and that's going to be 144. And 144 times 6, and then don't forget about the minus 2 times 4 over here, over 4. So with the calculator, 144 times 6 is 864. Thank you. Minus 8 over 4. So 864 minus 8 is going to be 856. So if you have 856 and then divided by 4, you do that with the calculator, divided by 4, you'll get 214 as your final answer. I hope that helps. Let's move on to number 6. So I do apologize. The print on the final exam and the review comes out kind of ugly. It's weird, kind of blurry. So bear with this, please. You want to solve this equation. You have fractions in it. What could you do to temporarily get rid of the fractions? Multiply everything by 4. Now, of course, you don't have to start with that. You could easily move the 8 over to the other side by adding 8 and adding 8. Then you could rewrite your equation to be 1/4 k minus or equals -1 minus 3/4 k. I don't know, you'll have less things to multiply by. So if you want, move that 8 over first. You don't have to. You could have started by multiplying everything by 4. I moved it over. Now I'm going to multiply everything by 4. This times 4, the -1 times 4, and the 3/4 times 4. The 3/4 and the 4 cancel out. The 1/4 and the 4 cancel out. Let me rewrite my equation. I'm going to have 1k, which I don't even need to write the 1, it's just k, equals -4 minus 3k, because that's what's left over. Now let me get the k to the right side. I am going to add 3k, cancel out, add 3k, and I'll have 4k equals -4. So what would my final step be? Divide by 4 on both sides. So k equals what? -1. Let's move on to number 7. So since 7 or 8 are pretty much the same, I'm just going to do one of them. I'm going to do 8, and let's solve by getting m by itself on one side. So I'm going to subtract 7m. Subtract 7m. You're going to have -11m. And let's bring down this +2 right here. So that's going to be +2 equals -64. Now I'm going to solve this thing by subtracting 2 on both sides. You're going to have -11m equals -66. And luckily, you divide by -11, divide by -11, you're going to get 6 as an answer. +6. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9, you have fractions. You want to get rid of all the fractions. You could multiply by 6 to cancel this out. Multiply the z by 6. Multiply 1/4 by 6. Multiply everything by 6. However, you also have 1/4. You'd have to multiply everything by 4 after multiplying by 6. So you could multiply everything by the LCD, 12, to get rid of both of them at the same time. So it's up to you if you want to get rid of both of them at the same time or one of them at a time. One of them at a time is fine. It just takes a little longer. I want to multiply everything by 12. Now, 12 on top over 6 on the bottom, you're going to have a 2 left over. So when you have 2 times -5, that will be a -10. Bring the equal sign, and then you have your 12 times z. And 12 times z is 12z. And over here, last but not least, the 12 divided by 4 is a 3 left over on top. So you have 1 times 3, that is 3. And that's a +3 at the very end. So you now have an equation without fractions. So let's get rid of that 3 by subtracting 3. Subtracting 3, you're going to have -13 equals 12z. So for my final step, I do what? Divide by 12. Divide by 12. You're going to have z equals -13 over 12. Now -13 over 12, if you look at your multiple choice answers, is not on there, which means it's an improper fraction, which could be changed to a mixed fraction. 12 times what will get you close to 13 without going over? 12 times 1. So it really is answer A, -1 and 1/12. Change it from an improper back to a mixed. And we need to be able to do that on the final. Moving on to number 10. Quickly, number 10, multiply by 8 on both sides. We all have calculators. We'll get 5k equals 120. And then we divide by 5. Divide by 5. And that equals 24. So k equals 24. Let's move on. So you have an absolute value equation here. All you got to do is remember that you need a positive situation and a negative situation. That's only if your absolute value is already isolated. If you had something else out here in front, you'd have to get rid of it. Or something added or subtracted at the very end, you'd have to get rid of it. So this is already ready to rock. It already has the absolute value isolated. So you could just jump to the positive situation and the negative situation. Positive situation would be rewriting it exactly the way it is without the absolute values. So you're going to have a s minus 2 equals 3. That's a positive situation. Now the negative situation is almost the same exact thing. The only difference is that you have to flip the inequality symbol, but it's an equal sign. So if you flip the equal, it still says equal. And also change the sign of the right side. So for the negative situation, you're also going to have s minus 2. Flip the equal sign, it still says equal, but you're going to have a minus 3 over here, so it's going to be a negative 3. Now when you solve both, you're going to have plus 2, s equals 5. And plus 2, s equals negative 1. So 5 and negative 1 are your answers. C. Number 12, I'm not going to bother doing. All you do is divide by 5. Okay, I'll do it. Divide by 5, divide by 5. Answer 7. 13, again, you're going to do the positive and the negative situation. Only because the absolute value is already by itself. If you had a number out in front, you'd have to get rid of that number. If you had a number out here on the outside, you have to get rid of it. This absolute value is already by itself, so you're going to do a positive and a negative situation. Positive situation, you're going to write it exactly the way it is without the absolute values. 3r minus 6 equals 21. For the negative situation, same thing. 3r minus 6. The equal sign, you flip it, it still says equal, but you also put a negative on your 21. So you solve both and you get both answers. Plus 6, you're going to get 3r equals 27. And if you divide by 3 and divide by 3, r equals 9. That's one answer. The other one, plus 6, you're going to get 3r equals, what is that, negative 15? So that means that r equals negative 5. And that's your other answer. So 9 and negative 5 are your answers. Moving on to number 14. I'm looking at 14, 15, 16. I'm not going to do those. Those are too easy, right? So you guys could do that. Just divide by 5, you'll get your answer. Add 18, you'll get your answer. Number 16, let's actually find the intersection of the x-axis, also known as x-intercept. You guys remember x-intercept? The question is, how do you find the x-intercept? You guys remember that? You set y equal to 0. They're only asking for the x-intercept. They're not asking for both. So we have an equation here. How do you find the x-intercept? You set y equal to 0. Here's y. Let's put a 0 right there. So it's really going to read 0 equals negative 3x minus 18. And all you got to do is solve now. So you're going to go plus 18. You're going to have 18 equals negative 3x. And if you divide both sides by negative 3, you're going to get negative 6 as your answer. So negative 6 equals x. Whoa, let me change that. Negative 6 equals x. X equals negative 6. But as you can see, none of your multiple choice answers on number 16 are written as x equals negative 6. They're written as coordinates. So all you got to do is realize that a coordinate is an x value and a y value. Your x value obviously is negative 6. Your y value, you started off by saying it was 0. So the coordinate is negative 6 comma 0. And that would be D. Make sense? Good.